Daughter demands that father take DNA test. The outcome reveals a life-changing secret. Jane had always felt like the odd one out in her family. She didn't look like her siblings, and she didn't act like them either. Her mother always told her that she was just different, but Jane knew that there was more to it than that. Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing, and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. One day Jane's suspicions grew too strong to ignore. She became obsessed with the idea that she didn't belong in her family. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something her parents were hiding from her. Finally, Jane could take it no longer. She confronted her father, demanding that he take a DNA test to prove that he was her biological father. At first, her father was taken aback by the demand. He had always treated Jane as his own daughter, and he didn't understand why she needed proof, but Jane was relentless. She pushed and pushed until her father finally agreed to take the test. The day of the test was nerve-wracking for everyone involved. Jane's father was worried that the test would reveal something that he had kept hidden for years. Jane was desperate for the truth, even if it meant that her entire world would be turned upside down. When the results finally came in, Jane was shocked by what they revealed. She was not her father's biological daughter. The news hit Jane like a ton of bricks. She felt like she had been living a lie her entire life. She didn't know who she was or where she belonged anymore. Her father was devastated by the news as well. He had always known the truth, but had kept it hidden to protect his family. Now that the truth was out, he didn't know how to fix what he had broken. Jane's mother was the only one who seemed to be handling the news well. She had always suspected that Jane was not her husband's biological daughter. She had kept the secret for years, but now that it was out in the open, she was relieved that the truth was finally known. For Jane, everything had changed. The demand for the DNA test had been a life-altering decision, one that she wasn't sure she was ready for, but now that the truth was out, she had to face it head-on. She had to figure out who she was and where she belonged in the world. The demand for the DNA test had been a bold move, one that had uncovered a life-changing secret, but Jane didn't know if it was worth it. She had lost a part of herself, and she wasn't sure she could ever get it back. The results of the DNA test had left everyone stunned. The truth was out, and it was a life-changing secret that no one had anticipated. Jane's father was not her biological father. The news hit Jane hard. She felt like her entire life had been a lie. Everything she thought she knew about herself and her family was called into question. It was as if she was living in an alternate universe where nothing made sense anymore. Her father was devastated as well. He had always treated Jane as his own daughter, and he didn't know how to make things right. He had kept the secret hidden for years, hoping that it would never come to light, but now that it was out in the open, he couldn't ignore the truth. Jane's mother was the only one who seemed to be handling the news well. She had always suspected that Jane was not her husband's biological daughter, and she was relieved that the truth was finally out. As the news spread throughout the family, everyone was in shock. Jane's siblings didn't know how to react, and her extended family was equally stunned. The revelation had rocked the family to its core, and they didn't know how to move forward. Jane in particular was struggling to come to terms with the news. She felt like she didn't know who she was anymore. Her entire identity had been wrapped up in being her father's daughter, and now that that was taken away, she didn't know where to turn. The days and weeks after the DNA test were difficult for everyone involved. There were a lot of tears, a lot of shouting, and a lot of unanswered questions, but slowly the family began to come to terms with the news. Jane's father in particular was determined to make things right. He apologized to Jane for keeping the secret and promised to support her in any way he could. He may not have been her biological father, but he was still her dad, and he loved her no matter what. For Jane, the outcome of the DNA test was a shock to her system. But as she began to process the news, she realized that it didn't change who she was. She was still the same person she had always been, with the same hopes and dreams. The only difference was that now she had the truth. The outcome of the DNA test had been a life-changing event, one that had shaken the family to its core. But as they began to come to terms with the news, they realized that the truth had set them free. They could now move forward together with a renewed sense of purpose and understanding. The search for Jane's biological father was not an easy one. There were few clues to go on, and it seemed as though every lead turned out to be a dead end, but they persevered, determined to uncover the truth no matter what. Finally, after months of searching, they got a break. A distant relative had taken a DNA test, and the results showed that they were related to Jane. It was a long shot, but it was a lead, and they followed it up. Through the relative, they were able to track down a man who they believed could be Jane's biological father. He was hesitant to talk at first, but after some persuasion, he agreed to meet with Jane and her family. The meeting was tense to say the least. The man was nervous and defensive, and Jane was overwhelmed with emotion, but as they talked, they began to piece together the truth. Jane's biological father was a man who had had a brief relationship with Jane's mother many years ago. He had no idea that he had a daughter, and he was shocked and surprised to learn the truth. For Jane, the revelation was both exciting and terrifying. She had always wondered about her biological father, but now that she knew who he was, she wasn't sure if she was ready to meet him, but her family encouraged her, and eventually she agreed to a meeting. When Jane met her biological father, it was a surreal experience. They were strangers, and yet there was a sense of familiarity between them. They talked for hours, and as they got to know each other, it became clear that they shared a lot in common. Jane's biological father was a kind and caring man, and he was overjoyed to have found his daughter. He welcomed her into his life with open arms, and Jane felt like she had finally found a missing piece of herself. As Jane and her biological father continued to get to know each other, her relationship with her family began to change as well. They were no longer defined by the secrets and lies of the past, but by the truth and the love that they shared. The truth had been unveiled, and while it had been a difficult journey, it had also been a transformative one. Jane had found a new family, and she had learned that love could transcend biology. For her, the outcome of the DNA test had been a catalyst for change, one that had opened her eyes to a whole new world of possibilities. In the weeks and months that followed the revelation of Jane's biological father, life began to settle into a new normal. Jane had formed a close bond with her newfound father, and her relationship with her family had grown stronger as well. It was as though a weight had been lifted off of their shoulders, and they were finally able to move forward without the burden of secrets and lies. The aftermath of the DNA test had brought about some unexpected changes in Jane's life. She had discovered a whole new family, and they had welcomed her with open arms. She had also come to understand the depth of her own resilience, and she felt empowered by the knowledge that she could handle whatever challenges came her way. One of the most significant changes that had come about as a result of the DNA test was Jane's newfound interest in genealogy. She had always been fascinated by her family history, but now she had a renewed sense of purpose in exploring it further. She began to delve deeper into her family's past, piecing together the stories of her ancestors and tracing her roots back through the generations. As she researched, Jane discovered that there were many more secrets and surprises to be uncovered. She learned about family members she had never known existed, and she uncovered hidden scandals and long-forgotten tragedies, but through it all she remained steadfast in her determination to uncover the truth and honor the legacy of her ancestors. In the end, the aftermath of the DNA test was a positive one for Jane and her family. They had been through a difficult journey, but it had brought them closer together and helped them to understand the importance of honesty and trust. They had learned that the truth could be painful, but it could also be transformative, and they were better for having faced it head-on. Jane had come a long way since the day she had demanded that her father take a DNA test. She had faced uncertainty, fear, and heartache, but she had emerged on the other side stronger and more resilient than ever before. She had discovered a whole new family, but she had also discovered a new sense of self, and as she looked back on the journey she had taken, she realized that it had been worth every difficult step. In the end, Jane knew that she would always be grateful for the outcome of the DNA test. It had revealed a life-changing secret, but it had also opened up a world of possibilities that she never could have imagined. For Jane, the future was bright, and she was ready to embrace it with open arms. What did you think of this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and subscribe. See you next time.